Hello, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic, and today we've got a classic Sudoku for you guys. This has been sent in by Niels from Sweden. He says this puzzle caused him hours and hours of work and then misery, whatever that means. So it should be a joy. If you want to try the puzzle, click on the link under the video. That'll take you to our software. You'll see exactly what I'm seeing and you can have a go. Just to mention too that Jason Zufranieri is currently on a sort of record-breaking Jeopardy run in the US on the game show. He's a very good friend of mine and also an extremely fine puzzle solver, which I don't think has been necessarily revealed on Jeopardy so far. And in fact, we have done a video on Jason's puzzle solving skills in the past. I'll put a card up now, but it's related to Kukuru. So if you want to watch the world's fastest, and he is the world's fastest Kukuru solver, then take a look at that video and be amazed. He is one, well, it's incredible how quickly his mind and indeed his fingers work in terms of keyboard manipulation. So definitely recommend that for those of you who've been watching Jeopardy and have been enjoying his progress on that show. Right, let's have a look at this now. I'll start off with just standard techniques. So you can see I can place a 1 in one of those two positions in the top right box, and I'll make little pencil marks to remind me of the fact. 2's into one of those two squares. That gives me a 2 here, look, because of the interaction of these various 2's around the grid. Pencil mark 2's the same way at the top. This square down here has got to be an 8, looking at various 8's dotted around the place. 5 here means there's a 5 in one of those two squares. And in fact, this 5 here means there's a 5 in one of those two squares too, so there's sort of a symmetry thing going on with 5's there. 9's into one of these two positions. 9's into one of these two squares as well, just the interaction of the 9's dotted round. Must be a 4 in one of those two squares. There seem to be a lot of 7's. Let's use those. 7's, 7's, these 7's. Okay, that gives us a digit. This must be a 7 as well, and this, in fact, we're going to get all the 7's done, just like that. 2, 7, 1, 8. This must be an 8. That's the interaction of those three 8's around the grid. That gives us an 8 at the top. That gives us an 8 down here, look. So I think we've done all the 7's and all the 8's now. Let's have a look at 6's now. What can we do with 6's? Must be a 6 in one of those. Oops, not an 8. A 6 in one of those two squares. 6 in one of these two squares. Must be a 9. Oops, 9 in one of these two positions. And as usual with the Sudoku, we're just trying to build up a picture of how this puzzle fits together. We've not done anything clever yet. 6. 4's in this top middle box can only go to the top there. That must be a 4. Box of 4 into one of those two squares. These two squares have got to be 3 and 6, and I don't think we know how that resolves itself yet, so let's add that in. This 1 is quite powerful because that locks a 1 into that square. Look, in this block there's only one position the 1 can go. These two squares now must be 3 and 4. In fact, are there any 3's in the grid at all? No. Okay, that's interesting. Now these two squares to complete this row must be 5 and 6, I think. So let's pencil mark that in. Central notation means I'm looking at the cell itself and I'm saying this cell can only be a 5 or a 6. A pencil mark in the corner of a square like this means that the 6 can go in one of two positions within its block. Right. 2, 4, 1, 3, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6. What next, you may well ask? And the answer is I don't know yet. This 4, look, there's a 4 in one of those squares. That means that can't be a 4, which means this is a 4. Okay. Six here and 6 here mean the 6's in this block are locked into either this square, or this square. And that's interesting because now there is a skyscraper on 6's. If we look at column 5 and ask where 6 can go, it can go into this square and this square. And in column 8 here, the 6 can go here. The only other square it can go into is that one. And you can check that, there's a 6 here which eliminates this square, and in this position here this 6 rules it out. So this pattern is called a skyscraper because if we were to join it all up with lines, it would sort of have the appearance of a tower with a sloped roof. Now that's going to allow us to eliminate a 6 from that square there. Now that might or might not be helpful. But you may say, well, how do we know there's no 6 in this square? Well, it's because if we look at this column, in fact, let's look at the row. That's going to be the easiest way to do it. You can see that in this row there's a 6 in one of two positions. If the 6 is here, the effect of that is because there is no 6 in this square, there must be a 6 up there on the sort of point of the skyscraper. Now the only other thing that can exist is that the 6 is here in the finished solution. Now if the 6 is here, because this square can't be a 6, there must be a 6 there. So we know, a shortened way of saying this would be to say we know in the finished solution there is either a 6 there or a 6 there, and both of these squares, well these squares together, each see this square. So it's not possible, given we know there's a 6 in one of the yellow squares, there can't possibly be a 6 in that square. So if we look along the row, we've got 3, 5, not 6, but 3, 5 and 9, and there's a 9 there. So in fact this square is reduced to being only a 3 or a 5. Now, can we do anything with that? Just, what can this square be? This square can still be a 4, unfortunately. Is there any way of eliminating that possibility? 2's, look, that must be a 2. Therefore, there must be a 4 in one of those two squares. Therefore, that's a 4. That is not a 4 anymore. So this can be... there you go. Look at that. So this 3, 5 was important. Now, ironically, I should have focused down here a bit earlier first, because it was possible, without knowing this, to lock that this square could only be a 3 or a 5. But in a way, this was good doing it this way round, because it forced me to look down this column. Notice that this square was quite restricted, and try and restrict it further. And you can see we've got a 3 and a 5 in this column now. So the other squares must be 1, 2 and 6. Right, now can we do anything with that? The answer is I don't know yet. So in fact, this square can only be a 2 or a 6. This square can only be a 1 or a 6. Oops. And this square can only be, well, this square can be anything, 1, 2, or 6. Okay, so we made a bit of progress there, but we certainly haven't cracked the puzzle yet. Right. I think we're going to have to look for squares that are restricted. So let's have a look at columns and rows where we've got a lot of given digits. We need 2, 3, 5 and 9. So that's a 2, 3 or a 5. Don't see how to restrict that further. This square can't be a 5 because we've got 5s pencil marked into those squares. So this square can only be 3, 6 or 3 or 6 in fact. Now that's interesting, maybe. 3 or 6. You guys might be seeing something I'm not here. This square can be 3, 5 or 9, I think. We've got loads and loads of pairs involving 6s round the grid. This square, we've got 6 numbers in this column, so this number can that number can only be 1 or 3. Ooh, okay. Well, there we've got a bent triple or a Y-wing. If we look at this square and this square, this forms a triple on the numbers 1, 3 and 6. So what I can do when I find a bent triple like this is I can ask questions about the pivot cell, which is the middle cell. So if this square is a 6, you can see that this square would have to be a 1. The only other thing that can be true is that this square is a 3. Now if this square is a 3, this square is a 1. So a bit like the skyscraper, we know one of these two squares here has to contain a 1 in the finished solution. Now, you can immediately see that allows us to eliminate a 1 from this square. That square cannot possibly be a 1 because it sees this square and this square, and we know there's a 1 in one of these two squares. So now, where in this block can I put a 1? I can't put a 1 here anymore, so the only valid square is going to be that square. Let's put that in. Now that's going to give us a 1 here as well, because of this one, this one, this one, and this one. Now there's a 1 in one of those two squares at the bottom. And what can we do next, if anything? I can see what we can do. So if we look at this block again and ask where a 6 can go, 6 has to be in one of those two squares because we managed to eliminate it from this square by the skyscraper. So there's a 6 in one of these two positions. Now if we look along at this square, that means that square is not a 6. So there's a 6 in one of those two squares. Now that means this square down here can't be a 6. It's going to have to be here. So we still need to put a 5 into this square and a 3. Now 3s are completely useless because we've got almost no 3s in the grid. Now 5s must be in one of those two squares. Sorry about this, I'm just staring at this. Let's have a look at this column now. We need 3, 5 and 9. So that one is a 3 or a 5. That one is anything, 3, 5 or 9. This one is 3, 5 or 9. So yet another 3-5 pair. We've got 3-5, 3-5, 3-5. These two squares. Oh, actually, we've got 5s here, pencil marked here. That square can't be a 5. Now, does that matter? Ooh. Yes, it does matter. This square not being a 5 allows us to use the most underused trick in Sudoku, which I did a video on the other day, the empty rectangle. So let's look at this block now. Where can a 5 go? 5 can go in any of these cells, that's possible. But if it doesn't go in this, in column 1 here, it must go along here. It must go in one of these cells. In fact, it can't go in this one. So, it has to be in row 7. So there's basically 2 states of existence that could persist in the finished solution. The 5 is pointing vertically because it's in one of the cells in column 1, or it's pointing horizontally, i.e. it's in exactly this cell. Now, if it is in this cell, look, we have our 3-5 pair here over on the right hand side that we found earlier. Now this means that either there's a 5 here, in which case this square here can't be a 5, or if the 5 is in this square, this won't be a 5, this will be a 5, and therefore this square still can't be a 5. So either way round, this so-called empty rectangle, it's called an empty rectangle, in fact it's an empty square here. A square is a form of a rectangle, by the way, but it means that there's no 5 in any of this part of the 3x3 block, and that allows us to do this logic where we lock the 5 into either column 1 or row 7. So this square can't be a 5, and that means this square is a 5. That means that square is not a 5. We get a 3-9 pair down here, and we get some stuff over here, do we? Yeah, this can't be a 5 anymore. So these squares now form a triple on 2, 3 and 6. So that square's got to be a 5. It can't be a 3. This square must be a 9. The fact this is a 5 unwinds our 3-5 pair in the column, gives us a 3 here. That unwinds the 3 and the 9. Now, that gives us a 3 here. Maybe we're on the right track now. So there must be a 9 in one of these squares. This now must be a 1. That means this is a 1, just unwinding the pencil marks. Now, where can we put a 1 here? No longer in this square, so this is going to have to be a 1. Suddenly we feel like we've had a bit of a breakthrough. Let's hope it continues. These two squares have got to be 4 and 5. Let's put that in. And these squares here have got to be 3 and 6, and that's going to be useful. Oops, 3 and 6. That means this one is a 4. That's a 3, that's a 4, that's a 5. See, we've got another sort of skyscraper going on here. Not going to be as useful though, because it's not in. We know one of these two squares is a 6 and one of them is a 3, but you can see that doesn't immediately break things open. We need a 5 into one of those two positions. Let's label that up as 5, 9. And there's a 9 there, look, so actually I could have seen that before. 9, 5. You guys are always pulling me up on the fact that my scanning vertically is apparently a lot worse than my scanning horizontally. I don't know why that should be. Now this square can only be a 3 or a 5. What can this square be then? 2 or 3? This square can only be 3 or 6. Oh, goodness me. And that square's a 9. That's not a 9, this is 3, 5, this has got to be 3 or 5 now, and you can see we've got a 3, 6 pair there. So this square must be a 5, and that probably cracks the puzzle. 3, 2, 6, 5. 2, 3, 6 across the top. 5, 9 down this side. This is now a 6. This must be a 3, 3, 6, 6, 3, check. Is it good? Yes, it's good. So that's how to do that puzzle. That was quite a struggle and quite interesting actually. We haven't looked at a skyscraper for ages. And so skyscraper into, I think there was a Y-wing in there and an empty rectangle. So lots and lots of difficult techniques. Let me know what I missed. Let me know how you got on with the puzzle. And I hope you enjoy watching Jason tonight on Jeopardy. Let's keep our fingers crossed he keeps his run going. See you next time on Cracking the Cryptic.